As much as I give him a hard time, Pierre Gasly, he's actually a good kid. I really like Pierre. If there's pressure and if there's stress or whatever you want to call it, it just kind of reminds me how much it means to me. You instantly have like, oh no, like instant regret.
How does competing in poker compare to competing in a Grand Prix?
Well, as you can see, I win. That's all.
That's it.
I'm just kidding. It's very different, I guess, but at the same time, like you strip it down to the core, competition is competition. You know, you're trying to outplay someone, outsmart someone. You're ultimately just trying to be better than the person next to you. So like you strip it down, that's the real similarity. You're kind of strategizing and you're thinking ahead. So that's the same with racing, whether it's thinking about the next corner or the pit stop, you know, what tire we're going to use, things like that.
Do you think you would have made it as a pro poker player?
I never say I could have made it in anything because I feel like that's, it's probably a little naive. Like I would back myself to like, if I go all in on something, I am pretty, like I do love competition. So I feel I would have given it a red hot crack if that's something I'd committed to. But would I have made it, then that's another thing. I don't think my poker face is very good. Like I just have like a grin the whole time. So if I needed to be really serious, then it'd probably just look weird.
What is the best and worst thing about being a Formula One driver?
Best thing, well, it's doing what I love. Like it may sound cliche, but it's very true. You know, it's the dream job for me. Like it's what I wanted to do as a kid. Did I think it would turn into reality? Not really. So the fact that that's my profession now and I make a living from that, it's pretty crazy. So I still pinch myself. Worst thing, it's probably just not having enough time to yourself, I think, with the schedule and that. So that's probably like the worst thing.
Obviously, there's a lot of pressure. How do you deal and cope with that?
You know, you kind of find ways to enjoy it, and pressure builds because it's, I guess ultimately like it means something to you. Like if pressure is building, then the reason for that is because it's something that you love or care about. So, you know, if there's pressure and if there's stress or whatever you want to call it, it just kind of reminds me how much it means to me and how much I care about it, and also how much I've put into it. So all these things and feelings that come out kind of motivate me, and I'm like, all right, well, I've put everything in, so now let's make it work. So I kind of use it as fuel, and yeah, it's a bit of a privilege, I think, to feel pressure as well, because it's, as I said, it must mean something dear to you. So it's cool to have feelings so strong about something.
Certainly in the paddock, as you did with that space hopper, you also have a lot of fun. Have you ever kind of gotten in trouble for your antics?
I don't think so, at least not in F1, but I will say that the space hopper, is that what it's called, space hopper? It literally took me back to being at school. And like, you know, at school, as soon as you do something you know is wrong, and it's like, you instantly have like, oh no, like instant regret. It's like, why did I just do that? And it was kind of the same feeling. So it took me back to like, if I was doing something silly at school, which you know is going to get back to the teacher or the principal, it was the same. As soon as it left my hands, I was like, oh no, like he's literally going to fly backwards and injure himself. And I've done it in front of like his home crowd. And the British fans that I have are now going to absolutely hate me, and Lando's going to be hurt and not be able to race. All these things like quickly ran over my head. So as soon as it left my hand, I went into instant regret mode, and oh my gosh. Luckily, someone was watching saying, Lando will not be hurt and everything will be okay.
On that note, who would you say is your best friend?
Oh, it's tough to say, because I do genuinely have friends on the grid. But I guess like best for anyone categorized as a best friend is like a best friend. I mean, I have friends, as much as I give him a hard time, Pierre Gasly, he's actually a good kid. I really like Pierre. I think obviously even like Lando, getting to know him better now in like the second year, I think we've actually had quite a few laughs. Max as well, you know, all our competition aside, I think we really grew like a strong respect for each other. So there's actually quite a few drivers that I would happily, you know, go to dinner with and have a good time with. But we also, I think a lot do kind of have a guard up because they don't want to kind of let the competition kind of get in the way or whatever. But yeah, I think probably after racing and once we like let our guard down, then you might see a lot more of us hanging out.
Especially in Monaco.
Yeah.
We don't talk about Monaco?
Well, we live there. I know a few more go out than me. I just like chilling in Monaco. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not much going on.
I'm sure. Drive to Survive has been obviously absolutely monumental for kind of bringing the sport even more so into the mainstream. But what do you actually think of it?
So I think it's been a really good thing for the sport, and it's increased our profiles, the sport. So far, I feel everyone's gained from it. So has it been good or bad? Absolutely, it's been good. And have I enjoyed it? I have enjoyed it. I think like the only thing I'll say is that like season like last year, like 2021 was one of the most crazy F1 seasons that I can remember. So it already had like the drama, so it didn't need to be. I felt like sometimes they would like just sprinkle a little bit on top where it just simply didn't need it because it was already like it didn't need any sprinkles. So like it was insane, and like you couldn't have like the last race, for example, like you couldn't have written that if you were making a movie on F1. So yeah, it kind of like, so sometimes I'll just, and it's probably only because I know everything inside, I'm like, they probably didn't need to like make it look like that. But other than that, and it's like a small thing, let's call it like a 5%er. I think for the rest, it's been good and it's been fun. And I think they have respected our space. You know, they're not going to come into a room and film us if we say, no, this is not a time to film this or whatever. Like they've been very respectful.
Is that kind of a direction that you possibly see your career moving towards, you know, once you retire? I
haven't thought that. I mean, I have thoughts about, what am I going to do when I retire one day? Because it's all I've done my whole life. So for sure, like I've had the thoughts of what will I do, but I haven't, I guess, put in a lot of thought of this is the direction I'm going to go. This is what I'm going to do. But for sure, I think I'm definitely open to dipping into some things, and I think it's a good time to like start trialing some stuff and figuring it out, what I enjoy. I also I call them like positive distractions, you know, so things outside of F1 which kind of keep me like positively ticking over and going to bed at night with like the thought of something else other than race cars. But yeah, the Hulu things, it's cool. It was an opportunity that came up, and it was once I got to understand who was behind it and the people on board, then I was like, okay, this is going to be kind of cool. So it's going to be like basically a fictional TV series about Formula One, and I'll be lending advice and again to try and make it fun and cool, because it will be fiction, but to make sure that it's still in line with maybe, you know, what actually happens in the sport. And so that's like, I think as well, I never thought that driving a race car would lead to some of these opportunities. So that's where I'm just like, they're cool pinch me moments. And I also just kind of have the attitude of like, why not? Like, it's a cool opportunity, so why not? Sprinkle
a bit of Danny Rick magic.
Yes, there we go.
Final question. What would you say to your younger self?
You did everything perfectly. Get a haircut though. Yeah, I let the afro go for too many years. But yeah, this sounds really, like I don't have any, it's not even like regrets, but yeah, I'm kind of happy with the way I did it. And of course you're young and you do silly things and you make like small mistakes along the way. But I think like everyone's meant to make mistakes because that's how they then learn, you know? So it's, as long as you learn and grow from like moments like that, then yeah, and I think I have done that. So no regrets.